You know what's crazy? Is that there was a time when having a UK accent was a sure way to get your record skipped. But in the ever-changing landscape of hip-hop and pop culture, it was only a matter of time before UK artists had their turn with it. And I gotta say, it's pretty nice. You know, coming out of that stream of consciousness era, it's like kind of really nice to have some artists who really care about their bars. Now, the rise of UK drill didn't happen overnight, and neither did the rise of Central C. In the early to mid 2010s, we had the Roadman subculture, and then in 2014, Stormzy drops his Dreamer's Disease album, and then as early as like 2017, we have artists like Giggs that start appearing on Drake's albums, like on More Life, specifically on the track KMT. And then even more recently, we have the man Central C, who has been taken over the game by storm. He has 34.9 million monthly listeners. His recent freestyle with Drake has over 25 million streams. His song Doja has over 500 million streams, and this is just on Spotify alone. And because of all this success, many speculate that Central C is an industry plant. But really, Central C has been in the game since he was 14 years old and has been grinding really hard to get where he's at. So don't jump to conclusions, and let's give this man a fair shake, and let's find out who is Central C. Real quick, I just want to shout out the new subscribers. We now have 25 at the time of recording, and I know that's not a lot, but to me, it means the world. So I'm really appreciative of you guys subscribing. This is my first YouTube channel, and I'm giving it everything I have. So I'm excited for the future of this channel, and I just wanted to shout out the new subscribers, the early subscribers, because y'all really mean the world to me.
Who is Central C?
Central C is an artist who hails from the West End of London, where him and his three brothers were predominantly raised by their single mother. When Central C was young, they moved to a rough area called Shepherd's Bush, an area most notorious for crime and poverty. But luckily, C's father was able to be involved in his life, and through that, a young Central C was exposed to the music that would eventually make him a star. His dad would expose him to many different genres of music growing up as a kid, but it was specifically American hip-hop that ended up having the biggest impact on him. Back in the day, Central C actually attempted to get a regular job and got hired at a shoe store. But after just a few short weeks, he realized that the shoe shine business wasn't going to cut it. He also realized that if he wanted to make this music thing a reality, then he'd have to dedicate all of his time, efforts, and resources into perfecting his craft. And well, that's exactly what he did. He quit the job at the shoe store and then immediately hopped in the booth. The first time that he got any exposure was in 2015 when he was featured on the Ain't No Nutting remix with fellow UK artist J. Hugh, which led to another feature with rapper Dave. And then in August 2016, he dropped his debut solo single titled Pull Up. The single didn't propel Central C into stardom, but he didn't give up and he continued to grind throughout the next few years. It actually took C some time to develop his sound and style, because in the late 2010s, he sounded just like every other auto-tuned rapper. During the pandemic, C's would experiment with different sounds and styles, stripping away the auto-tune and stepping away from that singing R&B C's and stepping into the Central C that we're familiar with today. A raw, poetic Central C with bars, and that was made very clear in 2020 when he released the track Day in the Life, with opening lines that read, "Day in the life, let's see if you really trap. Turn off the auto-tune, let's hear how you really rap." And on this track, we really do get a brand new Central C's, and I like it. This is the track that made the industry start to take notice of Central C, and this track did numbers and currently has 79 million views at the time of recording on YouTube. C's didn't let this success slow him down. He continued to release more tracks like Molly and Mad About the Bars, and by 2021, Central C's was one of the hottest rappers in the UK. C's then linked up with a London streetwear company called Trapstar, and they're one of the hottest brands on the market. And they would go on to make the official merch for C's debut mixtape, Wild West. It was this clothing deal and viral buzz that gave C's a huge push. When the mixtape dropped in 2021, it debuted at number 2 on the UK album charts, which is absolutely huge for a debut mixtape coming from an independent artist. C's didn't just stop there though, because Drake ended up co-signing him for his bars, and then just 1 month later, Central C's would be making his modeling debut for Drake's new Nike collab. So C's have been making the most out of every opportunity that comes his way, and 2021 was a huge year for him. In 2022, Central C's would take everything to the next level. He dropped his second mixtape in February of 2022, and it hit #1 on the UK charts. C's have been grinding for years at this point, and everything was finally starting to fall into place, and the hard work was starting to pay off. And instead of taking any time to celebrate, C's would just stay working, and just a few months after dropping his second mixtape, he dropped his biggest single of his career, Doja. And this track debuted at #2 on the UK singles charts, and since then has gained over 500 million streams just on Spotify. To make the song even bigger, C's linked up with Cole Bennett for the Doja music video. The song popped off like crazy all over the world. And without taking a breath, Central C's follows it up with a surprise EP and another hit in December when he released the track Let Go. 2022 made it clear that C's wasn't going anywhere, and that he was going to be one of the first UK drill artists to really make it big in the US. At the end of the year, he became the first UK rapper to rack up over 1 billion streams on Spotify within a year. So he's kinda becoming the UK version of Drake. And even though he's becoming an international star, C still has some serious issues in the streets back in the West End of London. One of the dudes who helped kick off the drill wave in the UK is a rapper by the name of Digga D. Digga has been popping off since 2017 when his 1011 crew started dropping some of the wildest tracks in UK rap. Digga and C's are familiar with each other because they came up in the same area and even went to the same school. But unfortunately, their street ties would turn them into enemies, and this would lead to Central C's younger brother getting stabbed. Digga lived in a neighborhood called Ladbroke Grove, which is only about 5 minutes from where Central C's grew up in Shepherd's Bush. And back in the day, both areas were allegedly ran by a crew called 916. But around 2016, some internal beef caused a split between them. 916 broke up and divided into 3 sets. The dudes from Ladbroke Grove started going by the name 1011, and the 916 members from Shepherd's Bush split into 2 crews, 12 World and 12 Anti. Digga and other rappers from 1011 blew up and put UK drill on the map, but very similar to US artists, they would have 1 foot in the music industry and 1 foot in the streets, and would eventually end up getting booked by police. In 2017, Digga and some homies got stopped and arrested by the cops for carrying machetes and a baseball bat. They claimed that they were going to a school to shoot a music video. The cops said they were planning to attack 12 World, so the cops booked them all for conspiracy to commit violent disorder. Digga was only 17 at the time, so he got off easy with just a 1-year sentence. But that arrest had a major impact on his career. When the court heard how violent Digga's new music was, and that he was actually talking about real crimes that went down in the city, they decided to pull 4 of his hottest tracks off of YouTube. Plus, they banned Digga from writing bars about his ops or any more real street situations going down in the city. Digga and C's were already on opposite sides of the beef between Ladbroke Grove and Shepherd's Bush. But it was in 2018 when the beef got personal after Digga was released from prison. On November 30th, 2018, C's was hanging out with his younger brother and some homies when Digga and another dude allegedly pulled up on them and started an argument. That's when Digga pulled out a knife and allegedly stabbed C's brother underneath the shoulder, then took off running while C's and his brother went and looked for help. Digga and his homie were arrested for the stabbing, but they ended up beating the case due to lack of evidence. And even though Digga wasn't supposed to rap about any street activities, he allegedly admitted to stabbing C's brother on a couple tracks that leaked last year. In the lyrics, Digga says, "Who the f*** is Central C? The only wild in West is me. We chefed his brother, went to jail, but still took the not guilty plea." Chefed and chinged are London slang for stabbing. And then 2 days later, another track leaked where Digga says, "Don't compare me to Central C. He just stood there and watched when we chinged his brother. I went to jail for that little and still came home to the nicest supper." C's allegedly responded on the track Cold Shoulder when he said, "Last time I let that slide, but this time I ain't gonna let that run." They made a diss track. That shit was too whack to get a response. It's sad, cat. I love my hood where I'm from, but that place ain't where I belong. Now, it's not entirely clear if that bar was directly aimed at Digga, but he did take a clear shot on the track end of the beginning when he said, "See the way I chop? Would've thought I had a black belt. I don't even need practice. I'm a natural. I wanna hit Tennessee, and I don't mean Nashville." C's was rapping about a model named Tennessee Thresher, who Digga used to be in a relationship with, and Digga never clapped back with another diss. But he did clown him for coming after Tennessee instead of taking direct shots at him. Central C is affiliated with a lot of dudes from 12 Anti, but it doesn't seem like he's willing to crash out like Digga has done before. He used to move a little bit of weight in the streets to make ends meet, but C's has never been a real violent dude making headlines for carrying machetes around. At this point, he's one of the most successful UK rappers of all time, and there's no telling how far he can take it if he keeps his head out of the streets and stays focused on music like he's been doing. He's already winning awards and breaking records, and if he keeps up the pace, he can become the first UK artist to hit mainstream in America. And the craziest part of Central C's success is that he's still independent and doesn't plan on signing with a major label. He has a distribution deal to help release his new projects, but C still owns 100% of his music and has complete control over his career. So really, Central C couldn't be further from an industry plant, and he's proof that an independent artist can find their way in this streaming era. Although it is very rare for an independent artist to pop off like C's has, and the fact that he's breaking streaming records without a major label is a good sign that Central C is here to stay. Okay, that's the Central C story. I'm not gonna annoy you and tell you to like and subscribe because I know that you know what to do.